Hello and welcome to video 2 for Math 123, our practice review, or our practice information videos here. In the first video we ended with the order of operations. In this second video we're going to be talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. But more importantly, what I'm going to be doing here is trying to show you guys little tricks. On the practice exam, you have about, you have 2 hours to do about 56 problems. So 2 minutes per problem, roughly. So I'm going to show you some little tricks that'll make it a little bit easier so you don't actually have to do all the computations. If you use some of these tricks, it'll help you out. Now obviously, if it's a fill-in-the-blank question, you'd have to do the actual calculations, but most of the questions are multiple choice, and this will help you with some of those multiple choice questions. So the first thing we're going to look at is the divisibility rules. So this gives us a little bit of a shortcut as to, is a number divisible by another number? So we were talking about factors. This is a way that you can kind of figure out, is a number a factor of another number. So first, 0, nothing is divisible by 0. We never divide by 0. That causes a situation we call undefined. So we don't want that. We don't divide by 0. And 1, of course, everything is divisible by 1. So now let's get into the rest of the numbers. 2. If the number is even, it is of course divisible by 2. The first 3, not too bad. 0, you can't do it. 1, everything. 2, if it's even, it's divisible by 2. Now we'll get into some of the tricks. Number 3, if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, then the number is divisible by 3. Let's look at an example. Let's say I have the number 774. And I'm trying to figure out factors and I want to know, well, can I divide this number by 3? What I can do is add up the numbers, so 7 plus 7 plus 4 is what? 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 4 is 18. 18 is divisible by 3. It gives us 6. So since it's completely divisible, no remainders or anything, then 774 we know is divisible by 3. Just add up the digits, however many there are. If the result you get is a number that you can divide by 3, the whole number is divisible by 3. And 4. If the last 2 digits are divisible by 4, then the number is divisible by 4. And again, as we're going through these videos, you guys have complete control on these. If I'm going a little bit fast and you want to pause, catch up on the writing, that's fine. So let's look at an example for this. So let's say I have the number 13712. And I want to know, okay, can I divide this by 4? Well, instead of doing all the calculations, just look at the last 2 numbers. 12. Is 12 divisible by 4? Yes, it is. Therefore, this entire number is divisible by 4 because the last 2 digits are divisible by 4. Alright, 5. You guys probably know this one back from elementary days and so forth, and it's what? If it ends in 0 or 5, then it's divisible by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, etc., etc. 6. If it's even, and divisible by 3. So even is what? 2. Divisible by 3, 2 times 3 is 6. So we're combining those two. So if it's even and divisible by 3, then it's divisible by 6. And we can go back to that example we had for 3, right? 774. Well, we know this is divisible by 3. It's an even number. So without even crunching it, calculating it, whatever, I know this number is divisible by 6. Number 7. So 7's a little bit funky. A lot of steps involved here. If you have a calculator accessible, like you guys will for the practice test, like you will for your homework, your exams in class here, probably easier just to try to divide it by 7 to see if it divides. But if you're on the spot and you're trying to figure out this is the steps, you're going to double the last digit, subtract that answer from the other digits, so whatever's left. And if the result is 0 or a number divisible by 7, then the whole number to start with is divisible by 7. So let's look at an example here, walk through it. Let's say we have 175. We want to figure out, okay, is this number divisible by 7? We'll take the last digit, 5. Double it, so multiply it by 2. That gives us 10. So take this number, the answer. So we used 5. What's left is 17. Subtract the answer we just got from 17. 17 minus 10 is 7. 7 is divisible by 7, so therefore this entire number is divisible by 7. So those are the steps. Like I said, if you have a calculator accessible, it might be easier to do that. 8. If the last 3 digits are divisible by 8, then the number is divisible by 8. 9. If the sum of the digits, so much like 3, same idea here, if sum of the digits is divisible by 9, then the number is divisible by 9. So again, go back to this 774. We know it was divisible by 3. We know it's divisible by 6. If we add these up, it's 18. 18 is divisible by 9, so it's also divisible by 9. There are a lot of combinations for that guy. And 10, if it ends in 0. 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. You guys, I'm sure, know those. All right, now, that's if we have any division problems we have to deal with. Some test strategies for you. So for example, you guys might have a addition problem, and it'll say add 362 plus 455 plus 608 plus 781. It'll be multiple choice, more than likely. Answer A is 1057, B 2201, C 2315, D 906, and E 2206. So with this one, on Praxis, you guys will have a pop-up calculator accessible to you. Again, on your homework, on your quizzes, on your homework, on your exams, you'll have access to a calculator. But that's a lot of time. Remember, you only have 2 minutes per problem. So wherever you can save time, you want to do that. So with this kind of problem, let's just look at the last digits. We have what? 2, 5, 8, and 1. So if we wrote these out, 362, 455, 608, 781, this is the last digit in the column. Add these up, what do we get? 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 8 is 13, 7 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So it would be a 6, carry the 1, and we would do the rest of the math here. Well, the number we're going to get as our final answer ends in a 6. Well, none of these end in a 6, so right away I know those can't be the possible answers. So it comes down to these two. But if we look at 906, well, if I just look at these guys, 400 plus 600 is 1,000. It's already over 906, so this can't be the possible answer. So without having to do any calculations, I know the answer would be 2206. And again, that's where you guys, and this whole whatever summer session that we're going to be doing, I'm going to try to give you guys these little tricks. Learning the material for maybe a fill-in-the-blank exam is a little bit different than learning the material for the praxis exam, which, again, you guys all told me that's your plan after this, is go and take the praxis, get your certifications to go on to be teachers. So that's what I'm going to give you, these little hints, and that's a hint that you would use on the praxis if you have an addition. Just add the last numbers and you might be able to eliminate 3 or 4 of the possibilities. For multiplication, let's say we want to multiply 34698 times 4872. So again, you could, and this is multiple choice. So A is 139,648,292. B 169,048,656. C 169,048,655. D 169,048,654. And E 269,048,654. So multiplication, if I was going to multiply these, I would have what? 34698 times 4872. So my very first step in multiplication is what? Multiply those two guys. 2 times 8 is 16, so 6 bring the 1. And then I'm going to have a bunch of extra work in here. But at the end, these are all going to be zeros underneath it here, so I know what? My answer has to end in a 6. Well, only one of these answers ends in a 6. So without having to do any calculations on a calculator, without having to do any calculations freehand, just multiply the last two numbers. 8 times 2 is a 6. There's only one answer that ends in a 6, and that pares down the choices that you have. So a couple tricks there. If you have addition, if you have multiplication problems, even division, subtraction can do the same kind of idea. Find out what is the last digit going to be. Check your answers if you can eliminate a bunch at that point. So next we have decimals. So let's say we have the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.6, 7, 8, 9. So you guys are going to need to know which number is in which unit. So the 5, this is the ones column. The 4 is in the tens. 3 is in hundreds. Whoops. Hundreds. 2 is thousands. 1 is in 10,000s. I'm going to write this sideways. I'm having trouble here. So 10 thousandths. If I kept going, so let's say we start going this way here now, so 0, 1, 2. So this 0 is in hundred thousands. This 1 is in the millions column. And then it just kind of repeats. So we had what? Thousands, 10 thousands, 100 thousands. And we have millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. Then 1 billion, 10 billions, 100 billions, etc. Once I get down after the decimal point, this is the tenths. So the key is the TH at the end. So tenths, hundredths, TH at the end, thousandths, and 10 thousandths. So you guys should know all of those decimal positions, at least up to 1,000,000. After that, you probably won't have too many of those numbers in there. Check my time here, 16, okay, good. All right, so next, so with decimals, we're going to be asked to round our numbers. And so the process for rounding is as follows. We're going to look at the placeholder. So look at the number, essentially, after the one you want to round to. One you want to round to. When we look at that number, so let's say we want to round to tenths, which is what? The first place after the decimal. So I want to look at the one after that, so at the second position. When I look at that, if the number is greater than 5, or I should say greater than or equal to 5, round up. So add 1 to the position before that. If not, if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then just leave it. So for example, again, if you want to hit pause, if you're catching up on the writing, that's fine. If I want to round 3.1415 to 3 decimal places. So I want to round to 3 decimal places, so that's there, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to be looking at the place after it, the 4th position. So is it greater than or equal to 5? Yes, it is, which means I need to round up. So this 1, I'm going to change it to a 2. So this now 1 becomes a 2. Everything else stays the same. So if I'm rounding 3.1415 to 3 decimal places, look at the 4th position. It's 5, so add 1 to this one. 1 plus 1 is 2. So my answer would be 3.142. All right. So again, you guys will have some practice on that. We'll do some of those during class time. Make sure you guys are comfortable with rounding, but that's the idea behind it. With addition or subtraction of decimals, the key there is to line up the decimal place. So if you're going to add or subtract decimal numbers, And then we want to line up the decimals. If we multiply decimals, so addition and subtraction, there's not really anything tricky about those. It's like adding or subtracting regular numbers. The key though is just make sure you line up your decimals. Put in zeros if you want to, if you have extra decimals in one number versus the other. For multiplication, it's the same as multiplying whole numbers or even integers, I suppose. We could multiply negative numbers as well, negative decimals. But at the end, we're going to insert a decimal at the location of the sum of decimal places in our original numbers. So, give you an example how this works. So let's say, for example, I wanted to multiply 1.2 times 1.1. So the first thing I do is don't even worry about the decimal places. Just do it as 12 and 11. Take out the decimals. So when I do this, 12 times 11 is 132. So if you do it long way, if you do it with a calculator, etc., that's fine. But we had what? In this first number, we had one number after the decimal place. And this one, we had one number after the decimal place. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So in our answer, we want to go 2 decimal places, starting at the right, so 1, 2. So 1.2 times 1.1 is equal to 1.32. Now, how can we use this on Praxis? Can this help us out in any way? And of course the answer is yes, or I wouldn't have brought it up. So let's say on the Praxis you're given multiply 26.25 times 37.5. And your answer choices are 98.4375, 984.375, 9.84375, D 98.4300, and option E 0.984375. So my guess is, without doing this on the calculator, if you multiply these out, you're going to get 984375 as your digits. But our answer has to have what? Well, this one has 2 decimals in it. This number has 1 decimal in it. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Meaning our answer has to have what? 3 decimal places. Well, the only one that does is this guy right here, B. So again, I didn't even have to do calculations. All I had to do is add up how many decimals, 2 and 1. So my answer needs 3. There's only one answer with 3. So again, that'll save you so much time. If this problem now only takes you 10 seconds to add up those numbers and find the answer, you just earned yourself a minute 50 that you can use on another problem that might be a little more difficult. And then lastly, how much time we got here? Okay. Is division of decimals. bunch of definitions first, so we know what we're talking about. The dividend is the number being divided. The divisor is the number doing the division. Quotient is the answer portion, and the remainder is the leftover, the remainder part. And when we're doing division of decimals, we have the following process. We use long division but move the decimal in the divisor, move the decimal in the divisor to get the whole number, and move it the same number, and we'll do an example, with the same number of places in the dividend and then put the decimal straight above in your answer. So again, I've got about 2 minutes here on this video that I can finish up. So if you need to pause and catch up, that's fine. I want to get this example work for you guys. So the example is divide 23.68 by 3.2. So we set it up like long division, 23.68, and 3.2 is what's dividing. That goes on the outside. So I want the number on the outside to be a whole number. So I need to move the decimal place one place to the right, which means I need to move it one place to the right on the inside as well. So the decimal now moves between the 6 and the 8, and that's where I put it in my answer. And again, just in the interest of time, I'm going to kind of hurry up here. So if I do the long division, there would be a 7 that goes there. We get 224. When I subtract, I'm left with 12. Bring down the 8. That gives me a 4. 128, so 0 remainder. So your answer would be 7.4. And again, sorry I had to go through that a little bit quickly. I just want to make sure I get the material in before it cuts me off here. But that's the process. The number on the outside, move it however many decimals, how many places we need to make this a whole number, so it becomes 32. Move it the same number on the inside, and then put that up in your answer. Then just do the normal long division process. So that's it for video 2. Come on back for video 3, and that'll wrap up our first week of material.